Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR Barrett, and we are presented and brought to you by FanDuel, here with Zach Guggenheim once again. Different night, but same old shenanigans here on the Big Ten Huddle. We have an Oregon-Indiana game to predict. We have some portal drama going on, and we are getting closer and closer. We almost had every single quarterback in the Big Ten put together through the portal, but, Damon Williams had to do what Damon Williams did. So we will talk about the new quarterback additions and what possibly could be next for Washington. But we are here with Zach Guggenheim, who is now with us. Zach, how you doing tonight, man?
Good. It was fun. I was at a staff conference for our ministry, and what was odd was some good friends of mine. Shout outs to Greg LaPlante, Jay Zvek. I'm probably missing another, but they came up to me like, "Oh, like we watch your show. You come up on our YouTube feed," and I'm like, "This is weird." Like my worlds were colliding. But it was fun talking to them about the show and talking about these things, and we got a lot to talk about. My man Jay actually was the one who told me about Damon Williams, and I kind of lost my mind. So, yeah, I have a lot to catch up on.
Lost your mind? Did you break anything?
No.
Okay.
I just was kind of like this for a little bit.
That's Zach losing his mind.
Yes.
The open mouth stands. All right, well, let's see who is here with us. Max, Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's, Max. Appreciate you being here. Says Paul Feinbaum might be packing his bags this time tomorrow. What do you think about that, Zach?
See ya in Ireland, Paul. Bye-bye.
If you're not aware, what Max is referencing here is that if an SEC team does not win the national championship, then Paul Feinbaum said he will leave the country. So if Ole Miss gets, booted, well, tomorrow, as if you're watching the show now live, then it's tomorrow. If you're watching the show, the morning when it comes out on podcast or listening to it today, then yeah, if Ole Miss loses, bye-bye, Paul.
Paul.
Alta says Sam Levitt was taking a visit to Oregon. Yeah, I mean, I have felt like Oregon is the destination for him this entire time. But he's kind of been playing around with LSU and everything else. So, which, by the way, all this stuff with Damon Williams kind of came right after that visit to LSU. So, what did Sam Levitt do to make Lane Kiffin go after Damon Williams like that? I don't know. That's interesting. Philip ILL Philip. Philip says, did Nebraska seriously lose out a quarterback to Kentucky? We'll talk about that here in a minute and get through all that stuff. Illini Bubba, appreciate you being here. JR Jr., appreciate you being here. Says, Zach, Chiles is a MAC level QB. Chip Kelly and Neuheisel. Chiles was our number one guy. Do you agree? MAC level QB, Aidan Chiles, Zach?
Currently, yes. Now, does he have potential to be something better? Yeah. But did you see him play the first couple of years? He was not good. Very inconsistent. So yes, there's potential. I love the move to Northwestern with Chip Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really good move for him.
I tend to agree. Let's go ahead and bring it up so we can talk about it. Now, not everything on this graphic is perfect. We still have Dante Moore in for Oregon there just because it's not been, Dante Moore has not technically announced that he is going to the NFL. However, that is most likely what's going to happen. So I would think that Oregon is probably going to get somebody out of the transfer portal. We'll see. Maybe it's Sam Levitt. Maybe it's not. He is from Oregon, so that could impact things. And then Washington, they are... even though they haven't lost Damon Williams yet, I guess, I would still say it's pretty likely that Damon Williams is probably not going to play at Washington next year. So we'll see with that. But Beau Pribula was on a visit today to Washington. So we'll see if anything comes of that. But let's talk about these other guys. First, here, Zach, we have Anthony Colandrea going to Nebraska. Nebraska obviously loses out on Kenny Minchie. He flips his, commitment, whatever you want to call it, to Kentucky. Kentucky essentially wrote him a blank check, and he did whatever he wanted to do there. And then now Nebraska is going after, well, not going after, they have
wait a minute. Are they going to pay Minchie with bourbon?
Maybe.
What are we
Moonshine, Zach.
What money does Kentucky have?
Yeah, moonshine money. That's what they're getting it from.
Okay.
But Colandrea is now there at Nebraska. You and I kind of were not super in favor of the Minchie addition, and I think some Nebraska fans were with us on that. Other Nebraska fans really liked it. I actually like Colandrea to Nebraska better than Minchie to Nebraska. Am I crazy, Zach?
No, I think, like, for one, Calandry started. Like, he has games under his belt, and he had a
Two
pretty good
different schools
year.
he started.
Yeah, he has 3 years of starting experience, and he has played very well. He's elevated the teams that he's been on. So, yeah, like, I don't know how much of an upgrade it is, but at least Nebraska got a guy who has played, has experience, and what have we seen? We've been saying it for the past several years or several weeks now. Experience, and particularly good experience, tends to translate better than guys who have rode the bench at high level programs. So that's not a sweeping statement. We don't want to make broad brushstrokes, but generally it has been players at group of 6 schools who have played well have done better at better opportunities than guys who have rode the bench at bigger schools that have gotten no opportunities.
Yeah, Colandrea has improved every single year that he's been in college football. And obviously, this year he was in the G6. He went from Virginia to the G6. But, I think UNLV may have had some better talent around him than Virginia had in years past. I'm not saying this year. Obviously, Virginia was a better team this year. But him going from nearly 2,000 yards his first year, 2,100 yards the second year, and then this next year, this third year, this year, he had nearly 3,500 yards, 23 touchdown passes, 9 interceptions, and he rushed for 650 yards on the ground. I think this is a great fit with Dana Holgorsen. We can say that maybe Minchie has some more upside, maybe he has some more potential, but the way I look at it, Nebraska needs to bring somebody in who's ready to win now, who has the experience to come in and play now. And Minchie, yes, he does have a lot of upside, like I said, but overall, I think Calandria has the experience, and he might be a little bit more turnover prone. We'll see, but at the same time, Minchie would be a first year starter, so there's no guarantee that he wouldn't be turnover prone either.
Yeah, I agree. I
So,
agree.
the next one, Zach, and we've mentioned him a little bit, is Aidan Chiles to Northwestern. Chip Kelly there at Northwestern now. Very interesting move to see Aidan Chiles go from Michigan State to Northwestern. Obviously, things did not end well there, but Aidan Chiles this last year, he only passed for 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So he did do a good job of getting the interceptions down, but he did not have nearly as much passing production as people would want. Had a little bit of injury stuff going on, also got benched at the end of the year, so that kind of impacts the production there. But what are your feelings on the addition of Aidan Chiles to Northwestern to go along with Chip Kelly?
This is the only Big Ten destination that makes sense for Aidan Chiles. And people, I think JR Jr., he was maybe giving me a little nudge. I said Mac level QB. He has not been a good quarterback. Now, some of that's been a supporting cast, but mechanically he has not been good. He has been incredibly inconsistent, but the tools are there. And now you have him under Chip Kelly, who is a very good coordinator, is very good working with mobile quarterbacks. And honestly, it's a low risk, high reward situation, right? Because what do we say? Like Northwestern, the general trend is they do well one year, they don't do well the next. And so nobody is going to have high expectations for him or Northwestern next year. What if he goes in and blows completely ascends a year from now? And I think that is possible. So I just like that he's in a position where there's not a ton of pressure on him, but he's got a really good coordinator that will utilize him well, and he can really learn. So I think it's a really good fit for him.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and I think if Aidan Chiles wants to get to the NFL someday, he had to go for kind of a high risk type of situation here. I don't think he would have got to the NFL going to a G6 job or anything like that. And for him to go with, an outstanding offensive coordinator in Chip Kelly, I know things didn't work out for him in the NFL, but in college he's been fantastic. And for them to go with Chip Kelly there, this is really probably Aidan Chiles' best shot to make the NFL. Will he get drafted? Probably not, but we'll see. He might get drafted. And even if he doesn't get drafted, he could make it onto a team and, be a good practice squad member or, sit second or third in the quarterback room there as well. And I do think that Northwestern is probably one of the best ways to get him there with that, with Chip Kelly and the way he might be able to utilize him with his athleticism and, kind of go back to the Oregon days a little bit and see what maybe not as much up tempo, but, definitely utilizing the running quarterback and that kind of stuff.
Yep, for sure.
So, all right. And the last new addition, we'll obviously talk about Oregon when we get everything squared away with them. So I say the last one for today. But Damon Williams moving on from Washington. Zach, you tell me, even if Washington is able to win the lawsuit here with Damon Williams, I don't see Damon Williams playing a snap of football for Washington next season, nor do I think any Washington fans would really want to see him play a snap of football for them.
The only way they would want to is if Damon Williams says, "Hey, I was wrong. I really do want to come back, and it's not just because of the contract." But he would have a lot of winning, like he'd have to win a lot of the fans back. However, I would want to sit down with Damon Williams as a mentor to ask the question, why on earth would you go play for Lane Kiffin? Like, seriously, why would you do that? He has proven time and time again that he does not care about his players. Why? I don't understand it. The way he left Ole Miss, I'm like, what? Now, as I say that, you could say the same thing about Jedd Fisch leaving Arizona, but I don't understand why he's leaving Washington. Like, can you explain this to me, JR?
I mean, your guess is as good as mine. The only kind of conspiracy theory I have, which I know that's why everybody comes to the Big Ten Huddle for, is for JR's conspiracy theories.
Oh
So we
dear.
need like a segment here, JR's conspiracy theory of the pod. But my only conspiracy theory for it here is like, I mean, obviously, what probably happened is he probably got the glitz and glamour of Lane Kiffin and got him talked up. Maybe he got offered a whole bunch of other money. The only other thing I could think of is like he has the same agent as Jedd Fisch, so is Jedd Fisch going somewhere in the NFL to be an offensive coordinator or something like that for somebody? And he sees the writing on the wall, and maybe we just don't see it yet. And he says, "Well, I don't want to be here at Washington and not know who my next head coach is going to be." By every indication, it seems like Damon Williams and Jedd Fisch have always got along. Did something happen, since the season ended to make them not get along as well? I don't know. It's really interesting stuff, but I mean, not interesting in a good way. It obviously sucks, and we don't want college football to be this way, but kind of is what it is. What do you think, Zach, about Beau Pribula on the visit today to Washington? No commitment or anything that I've seen, and I don't think they're necessarily going to look for a commitment, today or anything. But what are your thoughts on Beau Pribula coming in for a visit there?
I mean, it would be a good replacement in a pinch, but he's not Damon Williams. So it's not to say that he can't be good at Washington, but he's not Damon Williams. At least the potential of Damon Williams is just much higher.
They're saying they want a Big Ten conspiracy theory segment.
Listen, if we do that, we
No
need to
judgment.
get if we do that, we need to get our man who often wears tinfoil hats, Eric Boggs from the OHIO podcast.
Oh, yes. Eric would do an excellent job with the conspiracy theory
Yes.
segment.
We'll just ask him questions and he will tell us all the conspiracy theories.
Yeah. A trend I'm noticing with Philip and other people talking about the players that we've discussing here, a lot of high ceiling, low floor type of stuff, and I think that is kind of what you're getting here with a lot of these guys. Beau Pribula, Aidan Chiles, maybe not Anthony Colandrea. I think he's a little bit better, but Philip was talking about Colandrea or Minchie here, and I think for me, I don't think Nebraska can handle a 3-9 season.
No.
And I think you could possibly get that with Minchie if things don't go well. I think at worst next season they're 5-7. I mean, I'm not predicting that. Please do not hear me say I think that's going to happen, Nebraska fans. But with Colandrea, I think your floor got raised up a couple wins.
Yeah. Well, and to that point, Matt Rule can't afford he needs another winning season. He needs to show progression. And having a guy who could derail your season.
Public perception wise, yeah, he needs to show that. So Fisherman not happy, says Ohio State on the verge of 3-9. At least that's what it feels like. I hear you, Fisherman. I hear you. Last segment might not make you feel any better. So sorry about that. All right. Anything else on the quarterbacks before we move on, Zach?
The NCAA stinks. That's all I have to say about that.
Should have wore your shirt tonight.
Next time.
It's dirty from all the times you've worn it, huh?
Yeah. At this point, I might just need a tattoo across my forehead.
There you go.
Temporary.
We're going to take a break. If you would, please do like, subscribe while we take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. Like, subscribe, 5-star rating and review. If you're on podcast, definitely helps us out. Get those likes up. You guys have done a good job here recently, but we still need to get those up, and we really appreciate it if you make that happen. We'll be right back. All right, Zach, Oregon and Indiana. Indiana favored in this one on FanDuel by 3.5. Over under set at 47.5 last time I checked. I'll double check that really fast while we're talking about it, but a lot to discuss with this game. News coming out this week of Jordon Davison, the first rematch, not first rematch of the season, but the first rematch of the season for Indiana, really the first rematch of Kirk Cinnetti's career at Indiana against another team. So it's going to be very interesting how this one plays out. Oregon has both coordinators going off to be head coaches elsewhere. You have Oregon players entering into the portal. Obviously, Indiana, they did do a good job of dominating that Alabama offensive line, but Stephen Daly played Kellen Wyatt and Stephen Daly, them both being out in this one. Is that going to impact things? Because we didn't see that in the last game when we saw these two teams play, both of those guys being out. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this goes. What are your general thoughts on this game? Do you want to start like Oregon offense versus Indiana defense first and then kind of switch sides?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the Oregon offense against the Indiana defense?
So I'm really concerned for Oregon's offense because, and I go back to the Texas Tech game. That 23 is a big fat mirage because they didn't do anything. They turned Texas Tech over a ton. And often they were just getting field goals or empty possessions off that game. And granted, Texas Tech's defense was really good in that game, but equally important to note, Texas Tech's offense was awful in that game. And it gave Oregon's offense so many short fields that they couldn't do anything with. Now you're talking about Jordon Davison being out. Lamar and Hughes, Hughes didn't play at all this year, but Lamar, they're both in the transfer portal. So where's your running back depth? Right. It's I'm trying to think of all the running backs that they're going to have play in this game. If Davison's out, like who are the running backs in this game?
Noah Whittington and De'Aaron Hill Jr.
De'Aaron Hill.
Jay Harris might play, but he is technically in the transfer portal now. That actually did happen today. And Dan Lanning typically has a rule that you cannot play if you're in the transfer portal. So we'll see if he makes an exception for this one. They have a fourth string guy that could play as well, but he hasn't played all season long.
Yeah. So Whittington and Hill, that's a good duo. You might
I like both of those guys a lot. I think they've done a good job this season.
Davison has kind of been their big back though, and he's really kind of blew up, and now he's out.
Short yardage. He's also been a really good lead blocker at times. When they put those two running backs out there, he's done a really good job being a lead blocker for like Whittington and De'Aaron Hill Jr. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, so I just have concern there. And granted, I don't think Indiana's defensive line is as talented as Texas Tech's, but I also think that Indiana's defense is the best coached unit in college football. And so even with Wyatt out, even with Bailey out, I I have a tough time seeing Oregon being able to get enough yardage in the run game to allow Dante Moore enough time to work through his progressions. And we saw that in the first game, right? Like we saw the one big play that Moore had. It was like I think a 75-yard touchdown throw. But other than that, he was largely ineffective. He was under pressure all game. They did run the ball somewhat decently in that game, but I just wonder, especially now that it's not an Autzen, like how much more of an advantage is that for Indiana's defense? So I wonder just how many times Oregon's going to be able to score in this football game.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to the running game. First and foremost, you have to get this running game going for Oregon. Listen, Dante Moore's a good quarterback, but I don't think Dante Moore is the type of quarterback that you want to, put everything on, especially going up against this Indiana secondary. If this Indiana secondary was a little bit, beat up, or maybe weren't showing as much this season, then, you might be able to trust Dante Moore to kind of throw it all around. But we saw how that worked out for Alabama. You cannot become a one-dimensional team in this one. And then also, I was just on Sports Chat 503 with Ryan talking about this. You have got to see good games from Kenyon Sadiq and Jamari Sharp
Yep.
in this one. Sadiq, last time these two teams played, 2 receptions for 21 yards. Jamari Johnson had 1 reception for 3 yards. Both of these two guys have struggled against zone coverage this season. Two of their worst games on the season was against Indiana and was against Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin had some extenuating circumstances, the wind and all that stuff, so you can definitely talk about, well, maybe it wasn't the best one to, kind of reference for that. But still, or Wisconsin plays a whole lot of zone. Indiana plays a whole lot of zone. I think really the only team that probably plays more zone than them in the country, at least in the Power Four, is Pitt. I think Pitt probably plays the most zone in the country out of anybody. That's just my guess. I don't have hard and fast numbers on that, but just from watching them play, they're always in zone. They hardly ever play man. But overall, is Kenyon Sadiq and Jamari Sharp, are they going to be able to go out there and find the soft spots in the zone, get the ball, turn up field? Because we saw Terrence Ferguson get a whole lot of yards after the catch last season. He was excellent in that. Kenyon Sadiq has been an excellent receiver. He's been a mismatch for players, but to go up against the zone, you really don't have the mismatch situation there. So, are you going to get some more work from your tight ends? Are you going to get a good running game in this one? You had a good running game last game, but that was also with Jordon Davison, doing the brunt of the work. You don't have Jordon Davison now.
Right.
What's that going to look like? I think you have to solve those two issues if Oregon's going to score over 20 points in this game.
Yeah. To that point. So if you take Dante Moore out of the equation, they had 21 carries for 108 yards, which is not bad. Like that's over 5 yards a carry.
Are you including sacks in that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just eliminating all of Dante Moore's rushes.
Okay.
So but to your point, Jordon Davison had 8 carries for 59 yards. He's out in this game. So again, that's 13 carries. Let me do math in my head. 13 carries for 48 yards for the rest of the backs. De'Aaron Hill was 3 carries for -3 yards. Noah Whittington, 5 carries for 27 yards. So there's a big question mark here for the run game.
Let's switch over to the other side of the ball. Oregon's offense Indiana's offense against Oregon's defense. Oregon's defense, very good defensive line this season. Got Tatum and Uiagalelei there on the edge. Great pass rushers. Bear Alexander, Washington there holding up the middle as well. Those guys have been fantastic. But really, it was the Indiana defensive line that outperformed them last game. Can the Oregon defensive line, play much better in this one? one and give good opportunities for guys like Brandon Finney to get a couple more takeaways in this one. He had the takeaway last game that was huge for them, and honestly, you think Oregon probably could have won that game off of that, but it took a really clutch performance by Fernando Mendoza to come back from that interception and play very well to lead Indiana to the win. I think some people think this game was not close last time. Like, oh, it was a blowout. Indiana won by 10. And, like, yeah, Indiana did win by 10, but this was a very close game last time. And part of the reason was because of Oregon's defense being able to hold Indiana's offense at times. It's just at the end of the game, Indiana's offense was able to take over, and Oregon's offense wasn't able to stick with them. Obviously, that's not just Oregon's offense, that's Indiana's defense playing well. But what are your thoughts on Indiana's offense against Oregon's defense?
I think a big key, and I don't know if this has come out yet or not about the health and status of Khalil Benson, but I think that might be a huge key in this game is his health going up against Uyunglele. Because I think if it's Mikulski or a Johnny rather than Benson, I think that could be a mismatch that changes the tone of this game. If Benson's healthy and he plays, I think I think they can at least get a draw on this defensive line, as good as they are. Like, they are very good. So do I think that Indiana is going to take over and be like dominant from the start? No, that's not how, to your point, that's not how it was last time. Here is maybe the change though in this game versus last time. Indiana probably had to work off a silent count for a good chunk of that game because it was an Autzen. They're not going to be working on a silent count, not in the Peach Bowl. Like, they are going to be able.
They could. Ohio State worked on a silent count against Miami, but I think that was probably a bad decision by them. So I tend to agree with you. But I mean, it could happen. But yeah, I agree. Probably won't.
Well,
I doubt it would. Yeah.
I think Ohio State was probably not the wisest to do that.
Okay, let's move on. We don't. This could change quick if we start getting into that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. We are getting reports that Benson has been fully practicing all reps. So,
yeah, he played against Ohio State and he played against Alabama as well, so he should be fine.
Yeah. I'm assuming that he's fine, but he did not start against Ohio State. And he was quickly inserted back in after Curry got 2 sacks. So that, I think that's the main thing. But yeah, I don't think this is the type of game where like Indiana's just gonna go crazy in the beginning. But guys in the chat made this point. Charlie Becker, 0 catches the first time around. I don't think that's gonna happen again. And by the way, Elijah Surratt, they didn't have an answer for him last time. 8 carries, 121 yards.
8 receptions, you mean?
Yeah, 8 catches. Did I say 8 carries?
You said 8 carries, yeah. Okay.
8 catches, receptions for 121 yards. I wonder how well the defensive back end for Oregon will be able to deal with the emergence of Becker, as well as all those back shoulder fades.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what the Oregon secondary does because they, like I said, they did have some success against Indiana, but they've just been so lights out here recently. They did a very good job in the first half against James Madison. Obviously, things went a little different in the second half, but again, I don't think that's who this Oregon team is. It's not good that you saw that, but again, but they were excellent against Texas Tech. But I hesitate to take all that much from that Texas Tech game because I just think Behren Morton is such a non-compete quarterback. I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but in terms of like Fernando Mendoza and stuff, he's just, you can't compare him at all. And what Fernando Mendoza is able to do with his legs and keep plays alive and everything else, like it makes Indiana's passing offense almost unstoppable, especially when they have the run game going as well. So if you're Oregon, the very first thing you have to do in this game, you trust your pass defense, but you have got to stop the run. You have got to make Indiana one-dimensional, and you got to let those edge rushers and Tatum and Uyunglele pin their ears back and just go after Fernando Mendoza and let your linebackers kind of eat up the middle and make sure, the defensive line eat up the middle and make sure that the running backs don't get loose and break out. If Indiana runs runs for, I say, over 125 yards in this game, I think Indiana's got this one in the bag. If they run for less than 100 yards, I think this is a very interesting game, and I think this is one that Oregon can win if they make that happen.
Yeah. I mean, just going back to last time, not including the kneel downs, 33 carries for 128 yards. So they lost 17 yards on 4 kneel downs. But it was, I mean, Roman Hemby averaged 3.7 yards per carry. Good enough. Mendoza ran 6 times for 31 yards, 5.2 yards per carry. Kalon Black, who I think is going to get more carries in this game, but he had 7 carries for 31 yards, 4.4 yards per carry. So, I mean, they were averaging 4 yards a carry or better, not including the kneel downs.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get to predictions. Fisherman gave his. Everybody else, you give yours in the chat as well. You can do scores, or you can just tell us who you think is winning the game. Would love to hear you guys' thoughts. Fisherman says everyone's given Oregon no chance in this rematch, but he's got Oregon. I agree. You cannot say Oregon doesn't have a chance. I think that is being too dismissive of this Ducks team that has been excellent this season. I think they've been a top 5 team in the country this season. I think they're probably the second best team in the country between these two. So I really like Oregon. I think that they're an excellent team. I feel like Oregon has more things that they have to do to win this game. Like they have to stop the run. They have to pin Fernando Mendoza in. They have to get multiple sacks. They probably need to win the turnover battle in this one. I mean, I feel like there's more things that Oregon has to do to get the win. That doesn't mean they can't win by any means. Or Oregon could definitely win this game. But when I look at this game, I feel like Oregon has to do more to win. Not do more. Has to execute certain things more, whereas Indiana, I feel like if something doesn't go right, they can pivot to something else. If something doesn't go right here, they can pivot to something else. And so I'm going to pick the team that I feel like has been better the entire season. Not much better. I mean, obviously, Oregon's been very good this season too. Only 1 loss. The team that I think has been better all season long. I'll go with Indiana to win this one. I'm going to go 31-24. So Indiana to cover, but only a touchdown win. But I think it'll be closer than a touchdown. I think it's come down to one of the final plays of the game.
Okay. So I agree with you. Oregon can win this game, which is going to sound weird when you hear my score prediction here. Oregon can absolutely win this game. My issue is that, and everybody said it's hard to beat the same team twice. I agree. If we're talking about emotions, if we're talking about overconfidence, if we're talking about, all the cliches in sports, who takes who does the best job of taking emotion out of this game and puts it on the process? It's Curt Cignetti. They are workmanlike. We've got NSPR in the chat. He's on their Indiana sports psychology team. He knows what's going on in practice right now. Businesslike, workmanlike. I don't think Indiana is going to have I don't think they're going to look past. I don't think they're going to be like, oh, we beat Oregon already. And the thing that I can't get out of my head is, yes, I agree that it was not a blowout in Autzen, but they went to freaking Autzen and they beat them, and they beat them by 2 scores. And how did they do it? They controlled the game for the last 20 minutes. Pick 6 aside. They controlled that game the second half on. I don't see it changing, except I don't think there's a pick 6. I've got Indiana 31-13 because I don't think Oregon's going to be able to I think Indiana is going to hit a ceiling with their ability to score.
Could definitely see that happening if Oregon doesn't get the run game going with less backs in this one. So Alta's got Oregon 27-24. Appreciate that. John Jacobs, appreciate you being here. John says 24-20 Indiana. Fisherman 2017 Oregon. Philip 35 Indiana to 21 Oregon. What else we got in here? NSPR says 31-17 Indiana. Making sure I don't miss any in here. I think those are all the score predictions we got.
Yeah.
So most everybody picking Indiana, but you got a couple of Oregon picks in there as well.
Yeah. I'll just put this out. I think it's 17-13 Indiana, like midway third quarter.
Okay.
Like I think it's close. And then I just think Indiana is they're too workmanlike. And
Yeah.
I just think they're gonna get a couple touchdowns to put it out of reach.
PK chiming in with his 31-10 Indiana score prediction as well. Last thing I'll ask you on this, and then we'll move on because we are running out of time. But I did want to get this question in here. This game, Zach, for Indiana, is this the greatest coaching test that Indiana will have? This Indiana coaching staff will have since Kirk Cincinnati has been at Indiana? Because you think about it, they've played before. You know, they're deep into the playoffs. They've seen their film all season long. Oregon faced them firsthand. I don't think they're going to be able. I think this staff for Oregon is too good for Indiana to just come out and do exactly what they did before. I think that they've done a really good job of disguising things and making teams kind of second guess things. If Dante Morris figured this out a little bit more, we could see Indiana need to make some adjustments in this game. Do you think that this is the greatest coaching test for this Indiana coaching staff since they've been there?
That's a good question. Probably. Because it's not like they're coaching at home either. Like it is a neutral site. Now they don't have to deal with the time change like Oregon, which I do think that's another knock against Oregon. But I agree with you that part of Bryant Haynes' brilliance is his ability to disguise coverage.
Mm-hmm.
If Dante Moore can figure that out a little bit in the first half, it might be very much a nail biter at the end where even Indiana has to catch up. And that's where I wonder that's a pathway for Oregon to win this game.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, there you go. You got our predictions here. We had a comment from Trojan Fight earlier. Trojan Fight, I cannot find your comment. I apologize, but I forgot to take out the USC DC rumors in the title, so we were planning to talk about that, but we're actually going to talk about an Ohio State player that could go to the portal. The DC rumors for USC, I think we can get to either tomorrow or to the next one, and maybe I'll bring on Zach for a single video or something like that if we need to. But we will go live after the Indiana-Oregon game, or at least I will, if Zach can. But I'm sure Zach will try to do that if he can. But we will do the USC DC rumors as soon as we can. We'll see what happens with that whole job. It's so quiet. It's hard to know all that stuff. This next segment we're going to get into is an Ohio State starter that might be entering into the portal. We'll get into it here in just a moment. We'll be right back. Bo Jackson of Ohio State is being rumored to be possibly going into the portal for Ohio State. Ohio State has had a couple of freshmen make their way into the portal, Quincy Porter being one of them. Javon McFadden, an offensive lineman, also went in there. And so it's kind of uncharted territory right now for Ohio State. Ohio State has been a team that's been very good at keeping their players out of the portal. They've got a couple wide receivers going into the portal. They had a couple cornerbacks that they were expecting production from next year going into the portal as well. So it's they have over 20 players in the portal right now for Ohio State. It's very interesting. And now there are reports coming out, there are rumors coming out that Bo Jackson may not be happy with his compensation that he is getting. Bo Jackson is originally from St. Joseph High School in Cleveland, Ohio. He was a freshman running back this season. Zach, get this, 179 carries. That would be third most of a freshman running back in the nation. 1,090 yards this season rushing, third most among true freshmen. And you think about it, he didn't even start the entire year. He didn't start till game 4, I think it was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 6 rushing touchdowns, so that's 9th most among true freshmen, and 6.1 yards per carry, 7th most among true freshmen. He is the 7th highest rushing grade on PFF among true freshmen. A fantastic season for Bo Jackson. It seems like he wants some more compensation financially to go with that. What are your thoughts on this situation, Zach?
So the NCAA stinks. That's my first thought.
Thank you. Yes.
But in all seriousness, I don't know how much he got to go to Ohio State. It's tough because the way that the world is currently, like some people, and like I would resemble this, and I need to be careful because I have to remember the world we live in versus the world that it used to be. But I think people will look at this and be like, Beau is being selfish. He is not being a team player. And like if he's going to be that way, he should leave. And that's where I would tend to lean. I'm just being honest. But we live in this world where you can get millions of dollars. He proved that he is a pretty darn good running back. Forget freshman. He was a very good running back. And especially running backs, you don't get a lot of life in your playing days. And so I can understand from his perspective, hey, I would like to get paid. And if you're not going to pay me here, I'm going to go somewhere where I can both play and produce and get on an NFL radar. Which he's already on the NFL radar, but if he can get more money in the next 2 years before he can go to the league, then I understand that. But I think the bigger question is, how does Ryan Day's philosophy how does his philosophy with NIL jive with this? Like, how is this going to work itself out? Because I think Ryan Day has tried to kind of straddle the line between, we want to pay people well, but also we want you to be here for the culture. And I'm curious to see, is this one of those situations? Like, their running back depth stinks. Is this one of those where you have to pay him? Because I think it might be.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting dichotomy because if you followed this Ohio State program closely, you know that Ryan Day and the coaching staff and people there have basically been saying, if all you want is money, this isn't the right place for you, which is very admirable to say. And it's something that I think a lot of fans can get behind if that was their team saying it. But the problem is like you said, Ohio State does very much so need Bo Jackson next season. I don't think it's terrible depth behind him. I think Isaiah West is probably a better back than some people might realize, but you did lose James Peoples, you did lose CJ Donaldson, and so they're going to have to bring in another guy from the portal. But are you prepared to bring in somebody that might be as good as Bo Jackson? Not sure there's anybody out there right now like that.
Mhm.
I mean, if it's in my opinion, if Bo Jackson entered the portal today, he'd probably be the second best running back in the portal. He'd probably be top 20 in the portal. You just look at his recruiting rankings and you know how that he's probably outplayed those the first season and how those kind of things work out. He would be at least top 20 in the transfer portal, maybe even top 15, but who knows for sure there. However, it's a very interesting dichotomy because I do think that Ryan Day is faced with a situation here where he has to make a decision. Is he going to hold true to what he has said time and time again, or at least what we think has been said and kind of what's been reported about Ohio State, which is that this is not the place for you if all you want is money, or on the other side of things, is he going to, pay the guy because he knows he really needs this running back in his room because right now there might not be anybody else even close to how good Bo Jackson is there out there right now. I mean, obviously other guys can enter into the portal, but I don't think you really want to gamble on that. I think there's not many other running backs out there that are even near the level of play of Bo Jackson, and so you have to figure out what you do in this situation. And I mean, like there's been some chatter out there about it. Nobody knows the confirmed number, but I mean, there are people talking that like Bo Jackson wants more money than Travion Henderson is making in his first year in the NFL right now, which would
Yeah.
be pretty pretty incredible. So it's a good amount, and it's a very very interesting situation to see how this might play out.
Yeah. I I think the hard thing is that, and this people might criticize me for this take. I don't think it's worth it. And now I the NIL stuff has to get fixed. Like this is insane, and it is ruining college football. And I'm not just saying that as a Buckeye fan. Like, and someone said, "Is this the first time an Ohio State fan is losing a starter?" But it's this type of holding out for this type of money. At some point, you run out of money. Like it's just not sustainable, this model. And so we need to find a way to get this straightened out.
Somebody call up Les Wexner. Let him know. Bo Jackson needs to get paid. Bring him back to Ohio State. I think it's very interesting. Honestly, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here. I think both have so many pros and cons, and I think if you do this with Bo Jackson here, you're going to have a whole lot of other players on the team kind of side eyeing this and saying, "Okay, so you wouldn't do it for Quincy Porter, but you do it for Bo Jackson." Okay.
Yeah.
I do think it makes a little bit more sense than doing it for like a Quincy Porter, because that was probably a situation where he was probably looking more at the NIL payments of a Chris Henry Jr. and saying, if I've been here for a year, why am I not making something close to that? But that's just speculation as well. We don't know if that's for sure. So it's gonna be very interesting how this all plays out. Bo Jackson is obviously a huge piece for Ohio State next season. If he gets paid, I think he'll stick around. If he doesn't get paid, sounds like he might enter into the portal. All of these rumors just popped up today here on Wednesday, January 7th. So we'll see how it all plays out. But I mean, do you have any type of prediction? Do you have any type of thought on what's going to happen here? How much confidence do you have in it? What do you think, Zach?
I mean, if he's demanding a certain number, I'm not sure that Ryan Day's going to budge on this one. And so it's funny when you sent the topic, I started looking at different websites to see if he's going to enter the portal. So I would say maybe 70-30 Jackson's going to enter the portal.
Mm-hmm. Chad Adams says you can get 1,000-yard running back out of the portal for $500K in 20 minutes. Can you? I don't have the transfer portal memorized, but like I don't see a whole lot of guys. There's about 35 running backs in college football that got over 1,000 yards last year. The only guys that I see that are in the transfer portal that got that are Caleb Hankins, who's already going to Oklahoma State, Wayne Knight, who's already going to UCLA. That might be it. Jaden Bob, but I think he went back to Florida, or he's going somewhere already. Raleek Brown, that would be the other one, but who knows how much he wants. He's from Arizona State. But yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting situation. You might be right, Chad, and that would be the gamble that they might have to take.
Yeah.
So
this is the other, and I know I said I don't think it's worth it. I think the hard thing is that these are 18 to 22-year-olds that are making 6 or 7 figures already. And I think the frustrating part about this is, like, do you realize how much money that is at 18? And they want more. And it's I'm curious who the agents are in their ears telling them to go after more. And this isn't against Bo. This is just in general. It's like, I get you might be comparing your numbers to other people, but at some point you need to just stop and realize that going to different teams year after year can be more detrimental than it is good chasing the money.
Yeah, I mean, you and I know that, but I mean, these are 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are seeing the money, and sometimes they're, family knows that they're going to benefit from the money as much as they are.
Agents that's my issue, is the adults. The adults in the room are screwing this up.
Right. Well, and at the end of the day, this was the biggest sin of the NCAA, is for all of this to happen, and there were never any regulations for agents or anything like that. I mean, you got guys' roommates in college being their agents right now. It's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Very interesting stuff. Not exactly fun stuff to talk about, but very interesting stuff. That's going to do it for us here on the Big Ten Huddle. Zach, last question, because I forgot to ask you before. Who wins, Miami and Ole Miss?
Paul's leaving the country.
Oh, Paul?
I think Miami big.
Big.
Ole Miss has not faced a line. They have not faced lines of scrimmage like Miami.
See, my argument is that Ole Miss plays the correct style of football to beat a Miami defense. Quick throws, tempo, quarterback who can get out of trouble with his legs.
That's a good point.
I am picking Miami as well. I think Miami will win the game, but I am not going to be surprised if we see some magic from Trinidad Chambliss with his legs. And I'm also not going to be surprised if this brand of football, kind of quick tempo type of stuff, really wears out the Miami defensive line. Because you saw it in that Ohio State game when Ohio State got into quick offense where they had to play fast. That defensive line of Miami was starting to get gassed, and they did not have a whole lot of depth. They have some depth on the inside, but they don't have as much depth on the outside. And some of their inside depth has been Mesidor and Ruben Baines. So I think it's gonna be really, really interesting. I'm with you though. I pick Miami. I just that's a wrinkle in this game that I'm gonna be paying very close attention to.
I appreciate you saying that because I'm going to back off a little bit. I'll say Miami. I'm going to say Miami 24-20. I'm going to shrink I was going to say like 31-10, but I'll shrink it a little bit because I think you're right. I think Ole Miss will probably is a better style of team. So that's a really good point.
Well, that's what we do here on the Big Ten Huddle. We make really good points. Let us know, everybody in the chat, really fast. We're going to stick around for another minute or two. Really fast. Let us know, what's your score prediction for Miami Ole Miss? Do you think Miami's going to win? Do you think Ole Miss is going to win? Let me know. Or just say who you think is going to win the game. I've not seen who's favored in this one on FanDuel.
Miami.
Yeah. Okay, they're favored by 3.5. Okay, so they're both favored by 3.5. That's really interesting. 52.5. The over/under. It's gonna be really interesting. I'm looking forward to both these games. What time is it Thursday night?
I think 7:30 for both, I think.
Should we go live after the Miami Ole Miss game?
Possibly. I may yeah, we'll be in touch.
Okay. Look out for a live. We might go live after the Miami Ole Miss game. It's football. We'll talk about it. Mm-hmm. Interesting stuff. So, all right, are we getting score predictions in here?
Yeah.
John Jacobs says Zach did Miami 24, Ole Miss 20, because I did IU 24, Oregon 20. You were copying John Jacobs. That's what you were doing there, Zach.
Yes, exactly.
Chad says Miami 31, Ole Miss 21. Very interesting. So, all right, good stuff. Hey, Big Jeff is going to have the podcast tomorrow. He is going to do that. And then you can catch me and Zach on Thursday night after the Miami Ole Miss game. Most likely, well, we'll see after that one. But you'll get a podcast at the very least Friday morning. We'll see what happens. You might get us live. You might not. We'll see. Just pay attention to the feed here and come join us if we do go live. If not, watch whatever video we have left. Anything else, Zach?
Nope. We got semifinals tomorrow.
Good stuff. We'll end it with John Jacobs' comment. Go Big Ten indeed, John Jacobs. Thanks for being here, everybody. Have a good one.